जय राधा माधव कुंजा विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना। यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा जम सुंदरा जम सुंदरा दे। जय राधा जम सुंदरा जम सुंदरा दे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय जगन्नाथ जय बलादेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता। नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। जय सच्चिदानंद जय सच्चिदानंद जय सच्चिदानंद गौर हरे। जय सच्चिदानंद जय सच्चिदानंद जय सच्चिदानंद गौर हरे। गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि। जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Mayapur Chandra Gaur Hari, Nadiya Bihari Gaur Hari, Gaura Gaura Gaur Hari, Patita Pavana Gaur Hari, Gaura Gaura Gaur Hari, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jaya Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura 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 Hari, Gaura 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 Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. गौर ब्रह्मानंदे हरि गो जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज आचार्य स्तोत्र जुवेंगे श्री भक्ति वेदांत संशुपपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज आचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद जुवेंगे श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय आनंद कोटि वैष्णव की जय नमाचार्य शरदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगमय यमुनामाई की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories all glories all glories all glories Shri Guru and Shri Guranga Prabhupada की जय ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नाम नमस्ते सारस्वत देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी विशेष सुनोवाद पाश्चात्य देशतान्य वाद की जय reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 contents of Gita summarized verse number 45 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Tat Sat 2.45 त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्योपवार्जुना निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान् त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्योपवार्जुना निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान् त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्योपवार्जुना निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान् Word to word translation. Traigunya pertain to the three modes of material nature. Vishaya on the subject matter. Veda, Vedic literatures. Nistraigunya transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Bhava, be Arjuna, O Arjuna. Nidvanda without duality. Nitya Sattvastha in the pure state of spiritual existence. Niryoga Kshema, free from the ideas of gain and protection. Atmavan, established in the self. Translation by Johannes A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Please repeat. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. I'll try to understand this verse. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यईश्वरम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Thank you for joining today's session. So here we're discussing chapter 2, contents of Gita summarized, verse number 45, where Krishna is instructing Arjuna in the next concept, especially three modes of material, which is very important. Last, especially how to transcend or how to transfer our material activities, transcend material activities into spiritual activities. How to come out of the bondage, come to the eternal state of consciousness, the pure consciousness. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is teaching 5 subject matters: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma. Out of 5, 4 are eternal, Karma is not eternal. So how to make that Karma eternal? So in order for that to happen, so then we need to understand why we are covered right now, how we can transcend. So that's why 3 modes of material nature is very important. Last 6 chapters, the first 6 chapters predominantly is Karma Yoga, and that is the main focus point. The middle 6 chapters focus is Bhakti Yoga. The last 6 chapters focus is mainly Jnana Yoga. How to get out, how to detach from this material conditioning inside our heart, in our consciousness, not so much about external but internal consciousness. So that's why the last 6 chapters predominantly is talking about the whole one specific chapter, at least 14 chapters completely on this topic. You can understand how much important it is. 3 modes of material nature, 14 chapter. Even further it is described in next chapters also, 15th, 16th, 17th also, the 18th also it talks about. So that's why it is very important in order for us to get out from this material conditioning, to really apply the knowledge and then practically apply and then come out of it. That is what is the 3. That's why here Krishna is specifically instructing, because this is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Bhagavad Arpita Nishkama Karma Yoga. Krishna is instructing in this specific section. So in the previous verse, Krishna is talking about how the living entities, those who are attached to this flowery language of the Vedas, they will not be they will not be able to get to the focus, having a fixed up determination in their activities, in their consciousness, because they are attracted by these various results. So for them, it is not this attachment to the highest consciousness, the Krishna consciousness or pure consciousness. They are not able to come to that level. Bhoga, because Bhoga and Aishwarya. And what is the reason for that? That's why Krishna is mentioning here. Bhoga is sarprasaktanam taya aparata chetasam samadho vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho navidiyate. For those who are attached to sense enjoyment and wealth, they will not be able to come to this vyavasayatmika buddhi, fixed up determination, focus, one-pointed attention to the highest process, to the highest dharma, Bhagavad dharma, our original consciousness, our original occupation duty, the soul's occupational duty, our main occupation duty, our main characteristics of the living entity, Jivya Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. That to come to that actual characteristic is not easy unless we remove these layers of conditioning. So that's why it is very important. Why it is happening that living entities are attracted? Because of three modes of material. That's why Krishna has to bring. If he has to discuss about Nishkama Karma Yoga, Bhagavad Arpita Nishkama Karma Yoga, then he has to discuss about this point, at least in brief, so that Arjuna understand why he is being attached or conditioned, what was the reason, what caused it. So that's why here explained Traigunya Vishayo Veda. These are three modes. What are the three modes? Goodness, passion and ignorance, which means sattva is goodness, raja is passion, and tama means ignorance. These are the three modes. Traigunya Vishayo Veda. So Vedas means the Vedic knowledge in the beginning, especially the Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. These are the four Vedas. They are mainly deal with these fruitive activities, and all these fruitive activities there are prescribed, but there are different worship of different demigod, different sacrifice, different austerity, different charity. All these are prescribed, but mostly they're all these four Vedas are mainly talking about majority 90% are talking about worshipping different demigod, getting something in return, fruitive activities. So that is the main purpose. Karma Kanda, especially. So that's why here, so those who are in mode of goodness, they worship demigods. Those who are in mode of passion, they worship demons. And those who are in mode of ignorance, they worship the ghosts and spirits. So this is what. And those who have a pious credits, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam Jana Sukrituno Arjuna. Artho Jignasa Abdardi Gnani Chavarta Varshava. Then they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So when they have the pious credit, especially Bhakti Unmukha Sukruti credits, if they have, then they will be able to come to this. Otherwise, it is not possible anybody and everybody to worship, to come to this highest process. So here, first let's understand where these three modes of material nature. When Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, when the living entities want to enjoy separately from the Lord, so then Lord Krishna's expansions, especially Balram's expansion, first quadruple Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. From that first quadruple expansion, Sankarsana comes Lord Narayan. From Lord Narayan comes second quadruple expansion, Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. From that second quadruple expansion of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Anuruddha, from that second Sankarsana, Mahasankarsana, comes these three Mahavishnus, Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. Especially to deal with this, especially maintenance. Lord Vishnu is mainly in charge for the maintaining this material world. Without his energy, nothing can happen. Even the creation and destruction also. But he is indirectly. So Mahavishnu, especially Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. So when the creation has to happen, then these 26 elements, 24 elements especially, 24 elements are already there in unmanifested form, because living entity want to enjoy separately from the Lord. Then Karanodaka Sai Vishnu is glancing on these 26 elements, just like this. We see the sky. In the sky, cloud only a small portion. Sun cannot cover the cloud. Our eyes may be covered, our some portion of the city, portion of the country may be covered with the cloud, but the actual sun cannot be covered with the cloud, because cloud is coming because of sun, by the evaporation of this water. So that it is forming the cloud. Again, it goes in circles. So in the same way, so the Mahavishnu, Karana Sai Vishnu, is in the unmanifested state of these 24 elements, which are 5 gross elements: is earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then you have subtle elements related to sense objects, subtle objects, which is the touch, the sound, ether. So those 5 and 5, 10, and then you have karmendriyas, these hands, legs, tongue, genitals, rectum, 5. And then you have Jnanendriyas, which are knowledge acquiring senses: the ears, the nose, the touch, skin, and then the tongue, nose, ears. Total 5, 5 plus, and then Karmendriyas 5, 10. And the ones before we discussed the gross elements and its sense, its subtle objects, 10, 10 plus 10, 20. And so total 20. And then mind, intelligence, false ego, 23. Contaminated consciousness, 4, 24. These are the 24 elements. It is called, when it is in the unmanifested state, they are there. They are in the unmanifested state. They are called pradhan. In the unmanifested state, where there was no variety, then it is called pradhan, in the unmanifested state, just before the creation. Then Mahavishnu is glancing on these elements, total summation, sum total of these material elements, 24 elements. Then that glance is transferred as Kala Shakti. This is all. Without Supreme Lord, nothing can happen. So then that Kala Shakti is getting transferred, and it gets agitated by when the Kala Shakti is then impregnates these by his glance, is transferred as Kala Shakti through this, as I mentioned, Kali. The glance is transferred from through Mahavishnu, Karana Sai Vishnu, and also his wife, consort Mahavishnu, Ramadevi. Then this is mentioned in Brahma Samhita. Then gets transferred. Then Lord Shiva and then Durga Devi, Lord Shiva's wife, is Kali, is all coming into picture. Then the creation, the time factor agitation starts. Then when it mixed with this, it comes under these 24 elements, comes under the purview of time. Then things start cooking. Then these 3 modes of material manifests. So that's when it manifests. Until Lord Vishnu comes into picture, there cannot be any agitation. Nothing can be produced. So the 24 element, then the time factor 25 element, that is the pradhan before. Then Mahatattva is coming because the time factor. Then there is variety. Then that means there is actions and reactions. 3 modes of material nature is coming. So 3 modes: goodness, passion, ignorance, 3, and the permutation and combination, 3 into 3, 9. And there are 9 types of living entities. 9 types of living entities. That means aquatics. You have insects, trees, plants, creepers, and then you have birds, snakes, reptiles, then you have birds family, then you have animal species, then human being. There are 9 types of living entities, and each of them has a specific quantity, specific amount. Like human beings is 400,000, Jalaja Navalakshani, 900,000 is aquatics. Starting is aquatics. When the universe is getting created, Karana Sai Vishnu is inhaling and exhaling. Universe are coming out. This Mahatattva is, that's why it is called Hiranmaya. The energy of the Lord, creative energy, is Hiranmaya. The Mahatattva is called cosmic intelligence. Mahatattva in different places are described in different ways. But when it, especially at the time of the creation, when the pradhan, unmanifested state, is agitated by this time factor, then this Mahatattva is coming with the cosmic intelligence. Then it start producing these 3 modes, and especially the First one is the consciousness, pure consciousness originally, that is Vasudeva represented. Then gradually it produces false ego. False ego contaminated with the consciousness. It has the three modes of material. False ego in touch with the mode of goodness generates mind. Mind is generated. False ego in touch with the mode of passion, it generates intelligence and also the senses, the working senses and the knowledge acquiring senses. And false ego in mode of ignorance is generating, I think that is knowledge acquiring senses. Forget which one. Intelligence, and then I think knowledge acquiring senses is generated the mode of passion, and then the knowledge, the working senses are generated, I think, mode of ignorance. Let double check. In this way, by the ego, false ego is in touch. Why the living entity is coming into this material world? One of them is ego, false ego, not real ego. Ego is always there. Individuality is always there. Ego means individuality. Real ego means your individuality is there. You are always identifying that your relation, there is a rasa with the Supreme Lord, you are individual and you are Sachidananda Vigraha. That is the actual real ego, identifying that I am servant of Lord in different rasa. But when false ego means you are thinking that I am the creator, I am the enjoyer, I am the Purusha. This is what Purusha Prakriti Stohi Munste Jair Gunan Karanam Gunasanga Sad Asad Janma Yonishu. Purusha Prakriti, when the living entity is thinking I am the Purusha, I am the enjoyer, I am the creator, then automatically by these three modes, Karanam, Gunasanga, Sad, Asad, Janmayam, then he is taking different species of life. If he is engaged in mode of goodness, then he will go to the higher planets. Murdham Gatyanti Satvasta. When he is situated in mode of goodness, then he will go to higher planet. That means Bhuvar Loka, Swarga Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, Mahar Loka, Satya Loka. When he is situated in mode of passion, Madhye Gachanti Rajasa. That is Rajasa means passion. So that is in the then he will be born in this. You will stay in this earthly planet where we are, and then when who is engaged in abominable activities, the Jaganna Guna Uttista Ado Gachanti Tamasa. Then he will go to the lower planets. Also. It is mentioned animal species, especially mode of ignorance means animal species also. Mode of passion means human beings and on this earthly planet. Mode of goodness means higher human beings and go to the higher planets. And also, so in this way, when the creation is happening, because of the false ego, Icha and Dvesha, this Icha and Dvesha, Esham Antakadam, no. Icha Dvesha Samutvena Dvanda Mohena Bharat. This duality is coming from the false ego. I and my. This concept is coming. Dualities. That is described in this specific verse. Traigunya Vishayo Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjana. Nirdvando Nitya Sattva. Nirdvando. Dualities. Free from the duality. That's why happiness, distress, I and my, hot and cold. All this in material world we see these dualities. So this is because of the three modes of material. In this way, creation has happened. In this way, three modes of material nature came into picture. Through Pradhan, through Mahatattva, then this agitation by the time factor. In spiritual world, there is no time factor. Here, there is a past, present, future. So, for the living entity, the conditioned living and in this material world, the past, present, future. So, if you look at then, so that's why we have to know. That means actions and reactions. So what is the symptoms? We have to know what are the symptoms. So that we know when we are engaging different activities on day-to-day basis in our life, where we are, how we are operating, what platform we are operating, what mode we are operating. When we understand characters, then we will know. Otherwise, it is very difficult to know. So that's why it is Krishna is bringing this up. So the mode of goodness means the characteristics of mode of goodness illuminating. But that illumination means we will be illuminated by the knowledge. All the senses, knowledge acquiring and working senses, everything will be illuminated with this knowledge. So the problem with the mode of goodness is better than passion and ignorance. But the one problem still, unless we come to the pure goodness, Visuddha Sattva, then that is in the spiritual world. But material world means they are always operated under these three modes. But still mixed with some tinge. Goodness is tinged with passion and ignorance. But majority will be in goodness, but still there is a mix. But in spiritual world, means there is no mix of any goodness, passion. It's pure goodness, completely, no tinge of passion or ignorance. That is Visuddha Sattva. Vasudeva consciousness means Visuddha Sattva. So that is what is. We'll come to the example, Narada Muni's example, how. So that is the sattva guna character is also compared with sometimes in corporate world they use this terminology of blue, yellow, and red. So they will use the code. So red means passion, blue means ignorance, yellow means goodness. So the what is his behavior? They will represent in these colors, and from these three colors, those who are painters, they know when they use mixed these different colors, different orange, green, all other colors also comes. So say 3 into 3, 9. The different combination, this is 9, total 9 colors produced. And same concept, the 3 modes. So in this goodness, passion, ignorance. So that's the goodness characteristics is illuminating, but the problem with that is the happiness, enamored by the happiness and knowledge. So that's why especially Brahmanas or those who are in neutral stage, those who are performing maybe some philanthropic activities, they might be in more situated mode of goodness. They are not agitated, they are not lamenting so much, but still they are conditioned by the happiness they derive from these philanthropic activities. They are not so much attached to the spiritual things. They are not attached to the transcend. They are not attached to the real substance, the absolute truth. But they are simply happy being in this world, helping others. So that is also conditioned. Still, we will be in the material world, and what will happen, I will explain, because that's what Shastra is clearly telling. So and then knowledge, because knowledge, they also will be proud of their knowledge, proud of their activities. So this is the condition. Because of this, they will be staying within the material world. They cannot go to the cross over the material world and enter into spiritual world because of this characteristic, because of this conditioning of happiness and knowledge. So they are not in the Visuddha Sattva. So what will happen is those who are engaged in pious activities, they will go to the higher planets. They will go to the higher planets, and then as soon as they arrive, Kshine Punya Matya Lokam Visanti. 9.21 Krishna is explaining Bhagavad Gita. So Kshine Punya Matya means they will go to the higher planet, means heavenly planet, because you engage in pious goodness, mode of goodness, you engage in some pious credits, philanthropic activities, helping others or whatnot. Then you will go to higher planets, either heavenly planets or Janaloka, Tapaloka, moon planet. Mostly generally people go to moon planet. They want to enjoy for many years, thousands of years in their time. In earthly planet time, it's very long. So and then when the results, pious credits are finished, they fall down. They fall down to this material world, to this, especially to the earthly planet. And so they have to start. So the balance becomes zero. So that's why we have to. It's not. We are not going to transcend. We are not going to go to spiritual world by simply performing. People have this idea. I can perform impious credit as sinful activity, but if I perform pious credit, good activities, then automatically it will nullify. No, it is not the case. For the pious credits we enjoy. For the impious credit we have to suffer. Both are two different activities. There is no balancing of but when we perform spiritual act, when we perform transcendental activity, then yes, it will balance out. It will be able to remove these unwanted activities. That we will go in a minute. So we're discussing about the condition of the mode of goodness. What happens? It is illuminating, it is causing, but it is still overpowered by the knowledge and happiness. Proud of knowledge, and then we are getting conditioned by the happiness. They are not in the Visuddha Sattva. So that is the drawback, cons of the mode of goodness, tinged with passion and ignorance. One who is in a mode of passion, they are in too much, always attracted by the attachment, too much greedy for things. Nothing, they are not satiated. They are not satisfied with things, whether it's business, whether it's a IT job, whatever they are doing. So they are not satisfied with what they have. So even though they have enough, but still they are not satisfied. They will go on hankering for more. The attraction, attachment, greediness that causes misery in the long run, because this lamentation, frustration will come. So that's it. There's Krishna talks about in, I think, 14th chapter or later on, or I think divine and demoniac natures. That is in the 16th chapter, I think. Yeah, Krishna talks about three gates of hell: lust, anger, greed. These are the three gates of hell. So one who is operating on these three, then they can never be happy in this world, next world also. They'll have to suffer. So more. So this is the mode of passion, which means too much attachment, too much anchoring, greedy, over endeavoring, over collecting. So this is the characteristics of the mode of passion. And then the mode of ignorance means sleep, indolence, alasyam, pramadam, intoxicated, mad. He doesn't know what he's doing. So these three characteristics, these are the three modes and its characteristics. Mode of goodness means they worship demigods, as I said, they will go to the higher planet. Mode of passion means they will worship demons, they will be in this earthly planet. Mode of ignorance means they will take animal species, they will enter lower planets. These are the, and then also the different types of food people eat in these three modes. Mode of goodness means they will be eating wholesome, fatty, juicy, these kind of food, milk products, vegetables. These are the ghee. So these are the things which are situated fresh. The mode of goodness means we are supposed to eat within 3-4 hours. Especially grains must be eaten 3 hours. So I just, even as per the health scientific reason these days, because of COVID, so many details are doctors are giving. Everything, even for water they are giving, even the food also they are giving. We cannot reheat food, but we are so used to. First of all, microwave cannot be used; it is very dangerous. And even reheating, even on the pan also, it is mentioned rice not supposed to be reheated. That's why Prabhupada never. He mentioned in one of the letter also to someone, you cannot reheat. You can use that cold rice and put it and make it into something else, but you cannot reheat. As per rice, you are not supposed to reheat. Potato, you are not supposed to reheat, and a few other things. Beetroot, few other things. Because if you reheat, and it will stay in stomach much longer, and it will take long time to, and then it will turn into fat, and it will produce different other unwanted things in the stomach. So that's why it is not good in general, as per scientific reasons. So this is natural Ayurvedic, as per the Vedic tradition. These things are clearly laid out. Mode of goodness means within 3 hours, fresh food, hot food. They cook only whatever extent they need. Not that one day we will cook and then we will eat for 7 days. No, that is not the policy at all. Now everything is modernized. That's what people are doing. Weekend only we cook, and then a whole week we can run by that. Frozen things or different things. This is the condition of this today's world, but it is not good, because health deteriorates, and also the consciousness, it affects the consciousness. So that's why the person who is cooking, he should eat his own food, because he'll be cooking with consciousness and he'll be eating it. So one who likes what he is eating, then it digests fast also. The consciousness, it is there. So all those things matters. So the person who cooks has to be in a right consciousness, right state of mind. Anyway, mode of goodness, that is what passion means, which are bitter, too much salty, too much pungent, too much spicy. So these are the mode of passion. Mode of ignorance means, you name it, meat and whatnot, putrid, stale. So they will eat all this kind of food. Same thing with the performing austerity. Austerity or charity or sacrifices, anything which is done based on the scriptural injunctions, without expecting any results, without expecting anything in return, just doing as a matter of duty, just doing to please the Supreme Lord and spiritual masters, that is in the mode of goodness. One who is expecting something in return and not following scriptural injunctions, even if they are following, but there is something in return, fruitive. mentality, that is in mode of passion, whether it's austerity or charity or sacrifice. One who is in mode of ignorance, first of all, he will not follow scripture injunctions. He will concoct his own ideas and thoughts. He will do whatever austerity. He will put the body in a distress because he doesn't know why what kind of austerity, why it should be performed. So he will do all kinds of austerity, even though it is not required, not mandatory. He will do whatever he likes because he is expecting something in return. By his own ideas. He is not following anybody, any shastra or sadhu guidance. That is the mode of ignorance. Same thing, charity. Charity must be given. One who is mode of goodness is a qualified person. He will be giving at a time, place, circumstance. Passion means he will give to the where he will get something more return. And so that's what he is giving, expecting. And though ignorance means he doesn't even know whom to give, whom not to give. He doesn't know which way, at what time he should give, what place he should give. So nothing, he doesn't know anything. So sacrifice also, he will engage in all kinds of sacrifices, irreligious sacrifices. This is the different modes, how it affects the austerity, the charity, everything clearly laid out in 17th chapter. That's why 14th chapter all the way till 18th chapter, Krishna is talking about on three modes of material nature, how our determination works, how our happiness gets affected, how we become conditioned, what kind of food we eat, what kind of behavior we operate on. So everything is has an effect because the three modes is heavily working. So that's why we have to transcend these three modes. That's why Krishna is clearly mentioning here. So Traigunya Vishayo Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjana. Nistraigunya Bhavarjana. Nidyando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Yokshama. Free from these dualities, free from this gain and protection, and completely be situated in pure consciousness. So that's why we can see Narada Muni can go into any world, spiritual world, material world, higher planets, middle planet, lower planet. He can travel anywhere. Askandita Vrata is mentioned. Means he doesn't have any restriction. He can free to roam because he has transcended. He has transcended. So where Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is the person who is situated in transcendental position, especially in mode, above these three modes? What is his characteristics? What is language? And what are the symptoms? And how to transcend these three modes? Where Krishna is explaining, Mamcha yo avya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatittayetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Only way you can transcend is by engaging in undeviated, uninterrupted. Mamchayo avya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Then we can transcend these modes. Otherwise, there is no possibility. Through karma kanda, it is not possible because we are expecting something in return, fruitive mentality. Then we cannot transcend. Then Jnana Kanda also same thing. You cannot transcend these modes. So that's why those who are and the yogis also we see many examples. The Jnanis or Ashtanga, so many years. Klesha adhikataras tesham avyakta sakta. It is very, very difficult first of all to follow, renounce things and then simply taking sannyas. Those who are Jnanis, they renounce things. Then yogis also they also go at place and they try to perform. These days that yoga also became gymnastic, different type of Vihanga yoga, Kriya yoga, you name it, so many different things they are using. But ultimately it is not so much mystic performance, still in this material world only. Still they may go to the sun planet or they may go to different planet, but still everything is in the material world only. We have to go through this yama, niyama, asana, dharana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, samadhi. That is the highest stage. After many thousands and thousands of years, those who are even appearing in Kumbh Mela, Naga Babas and many others, hundreds of years they live, but still that is not, they haven't perfected. They have perfected means they will go from, they have to take up bhakti. Only by bhakti they can even perfect even that particular process. Karma kanda, then it has to be tinged with bhakti, then it becomes karma yoga. Then jnana kanda, jnana yoga, it still with bhakti, then you will enter into Brahmana effulgence. Without tinge of bhakti, they cannot even come to that. When they finally they will again fall down from Brahmana effulgence. Yogis also they merge and they are meditating on Paramatma. but they don't have any personal connection, personal relationship with the Lord. They don't want to do service. And then they merge. Paramatma is inside the heart. They will merge into the body of the Supreme Lord, Mahavishnu's body. So that is also, again, they fall down. So in this way, they have to, unless they take up the process of bhakti, abhya vicharena, bhakti yogena sevate. So that it's very important. We see Narada Muni's case. Narada Muni in the previous life, before becoming Narada Muni, because he has transcended the mode, that's why he is able to go any planet, material world, spiritual world, everywhere he can travel because of that. So even Arjuna's case also, in 15th chapter we see Pandavas retiring timely. Arjuna himself is explaining within, because he has performed bhakti yoga, because they are always performing bhakti from their childhood. Pandavas, that's why they are righteous, they are able to come out victorious. Krishna is always protecting them. Because of that, even Arjuna was able to go within the same body, he was able to go to the heavenly planets. Same body. He is able to meet Lord Shiva and Durga Devi in a heavenly planet. He fought by seeing his power, he was very much satisfied, and he gave his Pasupatastra, and other day Indra also has given his different weapons. So same body, he didn't transcend. If somebody, those who are those who are operating in this passion and ignorance or goodness, ordinary activities, karma kanda vichar, then they cannot go to the higher planet just like that. They have to give up this body and take up another body, then they can enter. Just like nowadays scientists are trying, we have entered into moon planet, we have entered here, we have entered there. It is not possible to enter without having a proper visa. Proper visa means proper pious credit, proper qualification. Then only we can enter. It is not possible otherwise. Shastra yanti devratan devan pitruman yanti pitruvatan bhutani yanti buddhim yanti madhyaji nopimam. Krishna is mentioning. So unless we have this pious credit, then only we can enter. After giving up this body at the end of the life, then based on the pious credit, then we are going. So, but Arjuna could able to go because he has transcended the modes. By bhakti process, he could go within the same body. By the power of the Lord, by his mercy, by his grace of the Lord and the spiritual master, he was able to go within the same body to the higher planet and come back in the same within the same body. So this is the transcending the modes by the bhakti. So naturally, automatically, all the benefits of all other yajnas and tapas, austerity, charity, sacrifice, everything is already retrieved by simply performing bhakti. At the end of 8th chapter, Krishna is mentioning that Vedesh, Yajnesh, Tapassuche, Jnanesh, Tapassuche, Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam, Teti Idam Viditva Yeti. Chapi Adyam. So by simply performing bhakti, all the benefits of what we have to do, what so many people, so many other processes they do, everything is automatically gained. We don't need to extraneous try. Oh, we are chanting, let me read this book, let me read that book, let me do perform this yajna, that thing, this thing, 100 things we don't need to do. We just need to pay attention, one point attention in this process. That's all we need to do. So we can see here. So before Narada Muni becoming this, before becoming Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was also having this passion and ignorance. Where he is mentioning Tada Rajattamo Bhava Kama Lobhata Yeche Cheta Yetairana Viddam Stitim Sattve Prasid. He also had the passion and fruitive activities, that mentality is there. Because he was a child, he was small, very small, his mother passed away. So that time, because fruitive mentality was there, but as soon as he was hearing from them, they mentioned, what is it? Anugrahena asranvataha. I forget the words. Mama Bhavadruchi. So where in 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is explained, he went to Bhakti Vedantis through this 4 months Chaturmasya period, rainy season and autumn, mixed 4 months. So during that time, these Bhakti Vedantis came. Then Narada Muni served them because they were there. So he doesn't have any other duties to do. He was a small child and his mother was serving. So then he also served them. He asked their permission to take the remnants, and then served them. And then by regularly with rapt attention, he was hearing continuously Anugrahena Asranavatam. Anugrah, by their mercy, Astranavata means with continuously, constantly. There is a verse, I have to look it up. Let me see. Verse. Yeah. Visrunvata me vasam yaso amalam. Sankirtyamanam munubir mahatmabir. Bhakti pravritta atmarajas tamopaha. Upaha means removed. All this tama, raja, tama means passion and ignorance has been removed by bhakti pravritta atma. He has engaged in bhakti. How? Through Munibhir and Mahatma with great transcendentalists. Those who are engaged in Sankirtyamanam. They are Visrunvata me anuvasam. Anu means constantly, and Visrunvata means regularly. Constantly, regularly, continuously. Constantly and continuously, he was hearing transcendental knowledge from this Esa Amalam, the full, pure transcendental literature, pure holy name, pure pastimes of the Supreme Lord by these Bhakti Vedantas, Mahatma Bir. Because of that, automatically he is able to transcend these modes. That is the way. So that's why and he also later on worshipped the Lord. They have instructed. They left after 4 months, but then Narada Muni followed their instruction. He simply chanted the mantra they have initiated him with, and also they followed the worshipping the deity. And so simply followed exactly the instructions every day, constantly, continuously, every day he was following that. Then automatically, so we can also see by following bhakti process, especially chanting and hearing, and by doing some worshipping the deity and doing some service, because that is where the attachment, the too much endeavoring, especially inside the heart, too much greed, intense greed, that everything will be removed internally. Externally, we may perform so many duties, so many activities, business or IT or whatever work we are doing. We will not be attached because we know we are doing everything for Krishna. So we try to engage or utilize or dovetail our resources and our activities, our body, mind, and words in Krishna gradually. Initially, there may be less percentage, but gradually we come there to the higher and higher degree. So this is a way to transcend these modes. By the example of Narada Muni, we can see how we can transcend the modes. And there was an example, many wonderful pastimes are there. Narada Muni was instructing. So just like we see that Daksha Prajapati also, as I was hearing, so the Daksha Prajapati, he was too much attached to these sacrifices, something in return. That's why here Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you want to be free from, because you don't want to fight because you are attached, these attachments are all coming because you are attached to results. You are afraid of the results. You forgot your original position duty. Because of 3 modes of it, you are operating on the mode of passion and ignorance. So that's why you have to give up these modes, give up these dualities. So then only, otherwise it is not possible to operate on this Nishkama Karma Yoga. Bhagavad Arpita Nishkama Karma Yoga means you cannot operate on passion and ignorance. You have to operate on goodness and gradually transcend even goodness to pure goodness. So that's what is happening. That's why Krishna is instructing Arjuna. So in one case, there is one pastime in ISKCON, Sochi means Russia. In Russia, one regular, he is not a devotee yet, but he used to drink and he used to eat whatever he likes, obviously because this is Russia. So then one day, while he is sleeping, then he saw fierce personalities, horrible fierce personalities with weapons, with a rope, and then so much. Then they were discussing somehow or the other, because these are near death XP&Ds. There are many books were written also in the last few years. You can search in Google also. Then he was seeing these personalities, and then they are trying to take him. Now they catching with rope, and then they were discussing within themselves. So he has performed so much heaps of sinful activity. done this, he had done that. So many, they were giving list, they were discussing within them, and then they were ready to take him. Then before that, he had purchased one book, Upanishad book, and then suddenly, when then they are ready to, they are putting the neck, and he tried to release that rope. The rope is tied to the neck. They are ready to take him. Then they tried to remove it, but it is very hard. And then at that time, he remembered some or the other. This Upanishad cover of the Upanishad. Lord's Mahavishnu's picture is there on Upanishad. So then he remembered, as soon as he remembered, everything disappeared. So then he ran to the temple, to ISKCON Sochi. Then he was searching for devotee. Finally, he was able to get into this ISKCON Sochi. Then he explained what is, he couldn't understand. Then he saw this snakes, and he saw the personality, Mahavishnu, in his dream. Then he suddenly disappeared. Then what has happened? Who is that? And he doesn't know. He couldn't even pronounce Prabhupada. He couldn't even understand what that book is. He just somehow or the other, while we are distributing, because so many things happen, many of them, they just buy. They don't even know what is in there. They just buy and then go. So they keep it on the shelf for many years. They may not take it, but their grandkids or someone will take, or some other relative may take and read. They get it. So, but still it has an effect. So here this person who somehow or the other, he got a book, and because of that he could became immediately, as soon as he saw that in his he saw this incident has happened, then immediately came to his senses. Then immediately stopped all these unwanted activities, and then he met his devotees, and then he asked them, what is this book, and why this has happened to me, and what exactly these personalities. Then they could explain these incidents. They could understand. Then he could understand. Then he stopped all these sinful activities, and then he could understand this is a death experience, near death experience. So in this way, those who are engaged in passion and ignorance, especially ignorance means too much irreligious habits, irreligious activities, not as per Shastric injunctions. Then we have to face the reaction. Who will face? The living entity has to face the reaction. Karanam guna sanga sad asad janma. So that's why. Then same way, so now Daksha Prajapati had to face also, because of his too much the enviousness, as it is mentioned in this verse. There also in the 14th chapter, when Arjuna is asking Krishna about the symptoms of the living entity who was conditioned, those who are transcended these modes. His question is, what are the symptoms of the person who has transcended these three modes, and what is the language, and then how does it, how can we transcend? How can we transcend is explained in that verse, as we are describing. Undeviated, unmotivated, pure devotion service, then we can transcend these modes. Then the symptoms, it is explained as, one who is transcended these modes, his first symptoms are, he doesn't have any envy, and he is not hankering. These two things are the main important things. So same thing is explained in this verse also. Nirdvando nitya sattvastu niryogaksham atman. Give up these dualities, and then gain and protection. This I and my concept is there. You're doing everything, everything as a service to Krishna. Everything you're getting very carefully. You're performing every activity, so you don't want to waste anything. So that's why the symptoms, first symptoms, two symptoms are mentioned, and then what is his behavior? His behavior is not expecting any respect. Honor or dishonor is equal to both. Happiness is equal to both. He just continue his activities. He will offer every activity, even when somebody is chastising him. Somebody, as we were discussing other day also, Nitai Sevani Mata nicely, wonderfully explained those last 6 verses or 8. Yeah, I think 8 verses. Bhaktastakam, as she was explaining from 13th verse to 19th verse, and 20th verse is the last verse in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Those are the Samasetro Mitre Tata Manapmanayo. So same thing is Chaitanya Charitam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also explained the same thing. So about this Trinadapi Sunichena Taroravi Sahishna Amanina Manadena. So that giving respect to others, not expecting respect. This can only happen. This cannot happen unless he is the devotee, unless he is transcended, unless he is operating on this platform of bhakti, he cannot do this, because this is the nature of this material world: envious attitude, expecting respect. So immediately become agitated, lamentation. This will not be there. Hankering and lamentation, this will not be there. Almost 4 verses. Krishna is talking 3 verses. One verse is about this symptoms. The 2 verses, 3 verses, Krishna is talking about the characteristics of the language, the behavior of this personality who transcended these modes. And the Narada Muni explaining to the king Prachina Barahi. He was a king, but he was performing too much attached to the fruit factories. One day is not, because this Daksha Prajapati, there is a link. So the king Prachina Barhi, he told, before I give up your kingdom to you all Prachetas, his sons, you go and perform austerities. How many? This is not in the Kali Yuga. This is in the previous age, I think Treta Yuga. So 10,000 years they are in water, sitting in the water, under the water, meditating. 10,000 years. 10,000 years. And where it is mentioned for same way, Valmiki Muni has written Ramayana, 60,000, that happened in Satya Yuga. Then later on, so 60,000 years he meditated and written Ramayana, not just like anything, like ordinary person. So here, these Prachetas are the sons of Prachina Barhi, King Prachina Barhi. So when Daksha Prajapati previously, when he offended, when he didn't know why he is performing sacrifices, was too much attached to the result, too much attached, proud and puffed up, then he was finally he was killed by Veerabhadra, associate of Lord Shiva. Then he was, by pacifying Lord Shiva, then Lord Shiva is always compassionate. So somehow, even though he has insulted in so many ways, he has killed his wife, Sati has given her life because of Daksha, his father's neglect of the neglect of the especially Lord Shiva. So he didn't give his share, and so many things he has done. So because of that, but Lord Shiva still, he was compassionate. He has given his mercy. Because of that, he put a goat head. Already he told Brahma, okay, I will give him, so he will get a goat head. So with goat head also he ruled. Then again, even that was not enough, because of that's why insulting the great Vaishnava, especially Lord Shiva is the representative of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So when the creation is happening, is in charge, is destruction is also in charge. So many things he is taking care, duties. Lord Shiva is always glorified. Most difficult situations is protecting living entities. During the Samudra Manthan also, the poison he has taken, nobody can take. When moon appeared, he could carry it on his head. Even the one Ganga is ready to flow to the material world, nobody could carry with that force. Only Lord Shiva can take it up. So that is the position Lord wants to glorify. Lord has given a special position to Lord Shiva, a very unique relationship they have. So see, that's why the Lord Shiva was very much compassionate. So here he has given. So because of his insult and neglect, and Sati was killed or gave up her life because of all these incidents, he has to pay the reaction big time. So even that life also he had to give up second time. Then he was born as son of these Prachetas. Prachetas were later on, after performing 10,000 years austerity, then Lord Shiva, during the middle of the time itself, Lord Shiva comes out from that water where they were meditating. Then Lord Shiva instructs, is called Rudra Gita. Some other class will describe that. Very important. Prabhupada gives wonderful purports. Rudra, this is in the 4th chapter, I think 24th canto, 22nd, 23rd chapter or so. This is explained, Rudra Gita. Lord Shiva is giving prayers, especially Namo Namo Aniruddhaya. Aniruddha and Sankarsana, especially Lord Shiva is always meditating on Lord Sankarsana, Lord Balram. So those are the prayers. Aniruddha and Sankarsana prayers is the one which is given specially to Prachetas to meditate on. And where then later on Lord himself appears. Supreme Lord appears. There also wonderful explanation and prayers are there. 8 hands. Generally Mahavishnu, when Vishnu appears, he is explained as 4-handed form. But there it is explained, 8 hands he appeared. Then where Raghavacha Prabhupada is quoting 4 hands, generally Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, but the other one, then he had also a snake, he had also arrow, a bow, and some other one. Total 8 hands, he has 8 different items. And then they are glorifying the Lord Shiva was glorifying the Lord. So the beautiful prayers are there. So the Lord appeared and very much pleased by their austerity, very much pleased by their devotion, and they were all the brothers. Prachetas are all brothers. They are not envious of each other. They are unity. They are within. They are always together, and they are trying to satisfy the Lord. And the Lord mentions clearly one point. Prabhupada also, one who is always following my spiritual, my representative, and using the prayers, those who are following their instruction, then they will satisfy me quickly. Instead of, we can pray to the Supreme Lord using our own mind, using our own thoughts and words, but when we follow, like we use Brahma's prayers, Brahma Samhita, Chintamani Prakara Kalparuksha, like that, many other prayers, Gopi's prayers, Gopi Geet. So there are so many prayers, Kunti Maharani, Kunti's prayers, Bhishma prayers. So all these prayers helps because we are following the Mahajanas by their intense devotion, by carrying their mercy, by following in their footsteps, by using their prayers and worshipping the Lord offering, then we will be able to understand and attain Krishna quickly, His mercy quickly, because following, especially Prachetas followed the instruction of Lord Shiva. Later on, then they got married. They were looking also. Then they forgot, because Lord Shiva instructed much before this 10,000 years. Then in meantime they forgot the full instruction. Then Narada Muni comes in and instructs again to Prachetas. So Narada Muni instructs even his father, Prachetas' father, King Prachi and Barhi. There King Prachi and Barhi was so much attached to fruitive activities, engaging in different sacrifice, austerity. There it is explained that Narada Muni is giving an example. Indirectly he was telling and that once upon a time the king Puranjana, so where it is explained that Puranjana means the living entity. The living entity is also called Puranjana. Pura is a place, because he has received a place or a body. The living entity has a body, is using this body, taking up this body to enjoy Puranjana. So even the Supreme Lord is also called Puranjana, but he is transcendental Puranjana. Just like we are sometimes living entity is called Purusha, but he is the actual original Purusha. We are the Prakriti. We are enjoy. We are not Purushas in this material world. So we are being enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. So that is our position. But we tend to think that we are the Purushas, we are the enjoyer, we are the creator. Same as this Puranjana. So the Narada Muni gives an analogy of Puranjana entering into Pancha Prasthan, where it is explained as using the 5 sense objects. The living entity is taking a chariot with the 2 weapons and 2 wheels. The 2 wheels are the sinful activity and religious activity, the 2 wheels representing. And he has 3 flags on the chariot representing 3 modes of material nature. By looking at a flag, we know who is the owner of the chariot. Is like, just like in Bhagavad Gita beginning, we see that when Arjuna is carrying, when Arjuna is there, his chariot, how is it? Kapidwaja, that was the Hanuman's flag is there. So same, and then what they blow conch shells. Accordingly, they know then who's conch shell, who's the blowing this, who is the personality who is blowing. They can immediately identify. Same way, by seeing the flag itself, they can identify who the person is, which dynasty, all those things. Same way, so these 3 flags are represented as 3 modes of material nature. Same way, so the living entity is attracted or conditioned by these 3 modes of material nature. So Narada Muni gives a analogy of explaining as a king entering into this forest, Pancha Prasthan, under sense objects, living entities conditioned by the sense objects. The horses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 horses are running here and there, trying to hunt different animals and using the 2 weapons. Also, where 2 wheels of the chariot is mentioned as religious and simple activity, and then the 2 weapons explained as I forget this analogy, beautiful analogy. This is in 4th canto, chapter 26. And then he could come to his senses. It is mentioned, yeah, 3 flags, 3 modes of material, 2 wheels, sinful and religious life. Then rope, the rope is using for the chariot is represented as mind. And then what is that? 2 weapons is ahankar, yeah, false ego. 2 weapons is having in his quiver. The ahankar, which is I and my. So aham mameti, I and my. This conditioning is there, so that these 2 weapons are represent I and my. So in this way, the chariot, horses are knowledge acquiring senses. The body is the 5 working senses. So in this way, the living entity is conditioned by these. In this, by this body, physical body, the gross body, and the senses, knowledge acquiring senses and working senses, and then its sense objects. So that's the same way. So this analogy is being given in this way. How is contaminated with these 3 modes of material nature by operating, looking, and then the 5 kinds of obstacles as he is going on the road. Different obstacle, 5 kinds of is compared as 5 kinds of air. The prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana. These 5 kinds of air is there. So ultimately, one who is transcended means all this air, 10 kinds of air is the gross air and the subtle air. All this air also has to be purified. That is kapha, pitta, vayu. So when somebody who has a vayu problem, that's neurological disorders come. When the vayu is especially too much contaminated, vayu is not in balance, then you will have these problems. So different kapha, pitta, vayu. So the water also is hearing. So water also we should not drink when it is too cold. We shouldn't drink from the frozen water or cold drinks. Natural warm water, normal room temperature or warm water we should drink. We shouldn't stand and drink. We shouldn't drink at a time too much water. So only when we are thirsty we should drink. So these things, because unless we are sweating, unless we are doing some work, then we can drink. Too much water, too much effect on the body has to function too much. When we stand and we have to, then when we sit and we have to drink, not so much, because then the whole effect, the liver and the lungs has to function to produce, to take that water and then pump it out. It takes more energy and more things function to do this, to pump out. So that's in this way, everything has a significance. In olden days, all these things naturally they used to follow. Now everything is modernized. We don't know how what to do. Even drinking water or eating habits, sleeping habits, everything must be regulated. Otherwise, we becomes automatically we will be operating on mode of passion and ignorance. So there are many examples, many pastimes here. So the king, by Narada Muni's example of this Puranjana, so then automatically King Prachinapara, he could understand how he has been conditioned and is affected by these 3 modes. Then he came to his senses. Then he was able to enlightened by Narada Muni's example. Then he could follow the process of bhakti. So then he instructed Pracheta, his sons also instructed. So they also got married, and then so the Daksha Prajapati was born after the Prachetas were instructed. Then when they came back after the austerity, they were looking everywhere, so much trees grow. Then they started burning into these trees into ashes. They were so much agitated. Nothing was there, so many trees. Then by seeing that Brahma has come and he saw, then he sent, then the predominating deity of the trees sent the Marisha, her name, predominating deity, sent a girl, Marisa. Then they asked her to them to marry. So then these Prachetas married her. Then from Marisa girl who they married, then Daksha was born from them. So the second time, first was a Brahmana. Originally Daksha was a Brahmana, Brahma's son, Prajapati. Because of his envious attitude to Lord Shiva, insulting and so many things, because of his behavior, then he had to pay that. Then he became a Kshatriya under goat head. then he had to again, yeah, first he got a goat head, still he was not, he completely was not pure. Then again he has second time, he was born as under the as Kshatriyas, this king Prachin Varhi, his sons Prachetas, and then as Pracheta's son, Daksha was born. Again he was given later on, Prajapati's, still the procreation is happening. So, in this, so that's why it is, we have to be very careful what mode we operate and how we behave, especially the envious attitude, anchoring, lust, anger, and greed. These things must be given up. Only it can be automatically be purified by the process of bhakti. There is no other way. So that is what I think. We'll stop here. Any questions? We'll discuss, continue the three modes of material, big topic. Um, we'll continue next week. Any questions? Let me ask on the phone. Hare Krishna, anyone has questions on the phone?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Ashish Karna Jagan. Yes, go ahead.
So this that particular incident you told me that the near death.
Yes.
Which books you are referring?
That ISKCON. So yeah, near death. I don't remember right now, so I'll have to check and give you the name. But many other books, many books were there. Near death experience. I may have one book at home also, I think. Yeah. So I'll check and tell you the names. NDE. If you Google it, also you'll get it. Near death experience, NDE. That is the topic. Many, even the many scientists and different, even those who are not devotees, they also did research. They could find these incidents, many of them. So I have just told one pastime. This has happened in ISKCON Russia. This ordinary person, outside person, how by having this book of Upanishad, and then one pastime is also there on Upanishad. They tried to change the book cover. Then they Prabhupada chastised them. Who's trying to change this picture? Rameswar Prabhu was mentioning, I think. They shouldn't change the. I have purposefully put this picture specifically on Upanishad, Lord Vishnu's picture, especially 400 form, and then you all want to trying to change this. This is not good. Prabhupada clearly told, because this is specifically, it is very instructive. Even those, everybody get attracted by looking at Lord Shiva's in this specific picture, Lord Vishnu's 400 form, by looking at them. So this person also remember, see, by simply looking at the picture he could remember, because interesting personality with 400 form, because not ordinary person can have 4 hands. He was attracted by that, and then he could remember in his when this incident has happened. So that's why he could come out of that by remembering that picture. So that's a Prabhupada's plan has a significant impact. Whoever comes in touch with him, with his books, with his Vani, with his instructions. So because the pure devotee carrying the mercy of the Supreme Lord, so automatically when, as long as they are receptive little bit, they can get the transformation automatically. I'll let you know the near death experience books names.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
No.
Anyone else has questions on the phone? Okay.
No question, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, I think we will stop here.